Hello, everybody. And I start my video, and Lena is there. Hello, Lena. We already have people raising their hand. All right. We have 33, 40. Woo! Lots of people are coming. Hooray. This is going to be so much fun. Okay. So let me get Lena in here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. All right. But I still can't do video. It's through Chrome. It still says that you cannot start video because the host has stopped it.
While we're on audio, like we're going to fix the video thing, and we're going to allow people to, I can think, like, who has a question for Lena? Type it. Oh, I already have questions in the Q&A. Okay. Oh, big hug from Carlos to you from Chile. And
hello.
How are we? Doing well under the circumstances. We are amidst a apocalyptic event, as the world knows. Everybody's in this together. We're all in this together. Okay,
we are.
And what we're trying to do is to make best use of the time, to have fun, to enjoy our life, to be with our friends, and maybe even learn something. Right now, we have assistants coming. And what I want you to talk about, Lena, on the audio.
Yes, but is everybody hearing me? Because I don't see. I'm not understanding that. If everybody's hearing me or just
can everybody you. There's 6 participants that raised.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody can hear.
Yes, everybody I see people saying yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. So. Good. God, I wish it was your face instead of my face.
you look so beautiful, Melissa.
Oh,
so
man.
Beautiful.
Lena, I tell you, you're the one that makes me look beautiful. Lena does, when she does my makeup, it is like, I feel like a new person. So I think you need to monetize your makeup, actually. So just saying, I would buy it. I would buy it. I would buy your makeup. Okay.
That's a good idea for the quarantine idea.
Yes. Yeah. Except that we're not wearing a lot of makeup in quarantine. We're trying to save it.
I know.
We don't know if we can go to the store and get some more. So it's like, use only this much lipstick.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm glad everybody's hearing me.
Okay,
let's see what we can do until we get the video done.
Okay. So for those of you who are vocally inclined, I would like for Lena to describe what it was like when she was getting into more aggressive. Well, it was always been aggressive and emotional, because Lena is an extremely passionate person. And this is why she's such a great front person, aside from the fact that she's intelligent and she has talent. Oh, there's a point, a talent thing, because talent is, an important part. And what was it like before we started working together?
Yes. So
what did it feel like to perform without the knowledge?
Before we met, I still tried to get a little bit of knowledge. I had personal lessons with the classic vocal teacher in the University of Music in Moldova. Mm-hmm. And I've been her student for almost 3 years. But I started with her not right away. Basically, I think I started with her in the end of 2008, which means almost a year. I was just like a little baby trying to do its first steps. And I remember falling a lot and hurting myself a lot, because all I was doing and all I could do at the time was just try this, try that, and see what feels more natural, right? And definitely I hurt myself a lot because I never had musical experience before, especially singing experience before the band Infected Rain. So, but after I started having a few lessons in the beginning, and the teacher taught me the basics of how to breathe and how to use my voice properly, although it was not really the style of music that I was performing, that I was doing, I still think it gave me a good start, and with her knowledge and with my practice with the band, I could apply certain things and I couldn't some others. Obviously, I had a lot of questions, and I would ask, I remember asking her certain things, and the only thing she could do for me for the more extreme type of vocalizing was she would ask me to bring my own songs and guide me through it. So I have to her credit, I have to say huge thank you, because she definitely tried her best to help me out, although she didn't know anything about extreme type of vocalizing or metal or alternative music in general. So I feel like that helped me a lot, but still, I used to be able to go on tour and have a maximum of 3 shows in a row, and then I needed a break, because all the techniques that I was using were not really performed right, even if some things I could understand right, but I didn't feel them. Now, in comparison with that period of Infected Rain and this period of Infected Rain, after I met you and I had knowledge and guidance from you, I can say that I started feeling what is more natural for me and just going with the flow. So basically what I'm trying to say is I was applying all the rules that I learned from you and exercises and warm-ups, and I was just trying to be the sound, be the note, instead of thinking about it too much and trying to achieve that like super high note or super like heavy growl that I'm like, I need, no, it's not there, I need to hear it, no, it's not like that. Instead, I started feeling it. So I think that that is the biggest achievement that I could do, is learn how to feel it, learn how to be it.
Yeah, that is an important part for all phonation, not just extreme vocals. In my opinion, because the act of listening to yourself as you're executing, actually, it's very difficult to be authentic if you're trying to judge what is coming out of your mouth or what you think is coming out of your mouth. It's a multitasking that is impossible, because the act of like listening and analyzing is a different brain loop than the act of singing or doing any kind of vocals. In other words, these tasks that we have in life, like singing or balancing on a tightrope, or they all involve loops of areas in the brain. It's not just one part of the brain that does, it's like a loop. And the loop that does singing is even different, a little bit different than the loop that involves speaking. These are different like neurological things. And so the act of analyzing and judging and listening to something and trying to micromanage sound as you are executing it is a big fail. And that's why people that just like get up and do it have more success, because it's intuitive. Like music is intuitive, right? So the thing is like being involved in listening to what you feel instead of listening to the sounds. And listening to what you feel is sort of the basis of what I teach. In other words, and I learned it from, you know, somebody else who had different words for it. So I did not make this up. It's part of my own journey. And I learned this journey from an injury, from, you know, being in a punk band. So, you know, it's all.
We all did that.
But that consciousness is very important, because when you think of that extreme anger that you have in your music, the most logical way to approach that is to do what you do when you get angry.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what's not sustainable about that part of extreme vocals, is that you cannot use that.
No, absolutely. And that's why I'm saying it's, you underlined it very accurately, saying that I'm a very emotional person, you know, because we know each other since 2013, guys. It's been a while. So Melissa knows me better than a lot of people. And sometimes emotions are very difficult to control, and especially when you're involved in it and it brings you sadness or whatever it is, the emotion that you're trying to deliver, sometimes you get carried away and you risk to hurt yourself. because you get carried away. So when you learn how to be able to deliver while being that emotion by controlling your own body, it's amazing. That's what I think is the key of what we have to learn here. And it's not that easy, but at the same time, it's pretty easy when you get to know what to do and when you understand your own body. And that's why, you know, whenever I get to talk about you, Melissa, in interviews or with some fans or band supporters, I say that you're not just my vocal teacher, you're my mentor, because that's very, very important, because a lot of things are involved in singing a lot. It's not just theory and notes.
No, it's not theory. It's actually a sensory experience. Then that is hard to describe in words. Like, words are words and feelings are feelings. And music is more about the feelings than the words, right? So, but that it's also about learning to be in the present moment. It's about like feeling what you feel always in this present moment. A lot of us are thinking about the money note that's about a measure away while we're doing the less important notes or the less important words like of or the or whatever. We're like looking for that money note, and we're not in the moment. We're not on the flow of moment to moment to moment. So it's almost like an imagery thing that puts you in the driver's seat of your voice, from the steering wheel, not from the passenger side, looking at yourself drive. So that is something that happens in basics, right? But you were like really going for the anger to get the distortion. I remember it very well. You used to constrict. And that is what is the most logical thing to do. But you don't need the constriction to make the sound of anger. And that's what I try to teach. It's like disassociating the emotion from the task and learning the coordination in a present moment without associating it with the intensity of emotion. But the emotion is like an acting thing. It's like I can say, oh, I'm really mad. And I'm not really mad, but I'm acting it out. And when I act it out, I'm not going, I'm not doing that extra constriction that's not sustainable for the amount of touring that you do. And how much touring do you do? Let's, you know.
Well, normally we try to tour a minimum of 3 times a year, and every tour is a minimum of 30 to 40 shows. And normally we have a day off every 6 days.
That's really, really tough.
And a set list of a minimum of 10 songs to 13 or 14 songs. So
that's
depends.
about an hour and 20 minutes? Or hour, an hour plus.
Correct.
Well, and I think that the ideal, like when you have the luxury of taking days off, because that's expensive, because you're having to like accommodate the band, you're having to feed the band, feed the
crew, everybody.
You have to, like, if your day off is that without any income is not very practical. However, there will be a time, we know that, Lena, we know that you're on your way. This is the typical trajectory of most metal artists. They're mostly on the 5-8 year plan. And so, you know, Lena, you're right on target. You're just blowing up. Pretty soon you're going to have like the big boss, and you're going to have the luxury of enough support of fans where you can have a day off. So the big, like my clients that have this luxury, right? And, you know, bands like Slipknot, Disturbed, you know, Gojira, all those bands, they have, this is my ideal thing, right? 3 maximum in a row, 3, and then 2 days off, and 2 shows, 1 day off, 3 shows, 2 days off. That is it.
Yeah.
So
I wish, but
You
I
can't do
will be
that right now.
honest with you. I will be honest with you. Even when I have days off, I tend to do a very short version of my vocal exercises to keep
Oh yeah.
in shape, like a 15 minutes or like 10 minutes of just a little bit when I wake up to just start my whole system. And I will be honest with you, physically, definitely our body needs the days off, because we are
Yes.
not just singing, standing in front of the audience. We are actually jumping around like crazy. And people that have been to Infected Rain shows, they know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
but
Yep.
but from the vocal side perspective, I will be honest with you. I don't feel the urge. Like, I feel very confident. You put so much confidence in me. It's insane. I can go like this. I can go on a 3-month tour and I'm never afraid. I'm never afraid because you made me a very confident person and a very confident vocalist. So I know if I do my proper preparation and I do my proper routine on tour, which I figured out already for the past 3 years, especially, something that works out really well for me on tour, I'm good to go. I can just go.
That's so good. That is so good. But at the same time, it was
Yeah.
because you did the exercises, the coordination exercises. That's what
Mhm.
gave you the confidence. I just gave you like exercises of what sustainable phonation feels like.
Absolutely.
And then you
Mhm.
could, but the hardest sell for most of my extreme vocalists is that the sustainable way to do this does not have the level of effort that they associate with brutality, with
Mhm.
extremeness, with all of that. It's such a hard sell for me to say this sound that sounds feels quiet, that feels more like singing a lullaby than
Yeah.
having a road rage attack. This is enough for your audiences. It's very difficult for them to accept it. It's like, and even some people that misinterpret me will, like, say some, spread some bad thing. Oh, that's that Melissa Cross quiet stuff. And it's not quiet at all.
No,
Because once those,
absolutely.
and it's because of the resonating phenomena. This is
Mhm.
not about loud. Loud is a perception. It is not an action, right? And it
Mhm.
shouldn't be an action. What you think is loud when you think that you are being loud is actually not loud to the ear,
Yeah.
especially when it's combined with other instruments that
Mhm.
share the same frequency band. So if you have, like, a really loud drummer and a bass player and a guitar player, that frequency range is being saturated. So anything that feels constricted is going to get buried and compete in there. But if you have a resonating strategy that allows for higher frequencies to move above that little cacophony hell thing in the mids
Yeah.
and the lows, then you appear to be, or are perceived as, louder because you are heard above it. And that is the trick of the resonating strategy of the Fry phonation. Now, there's, when you take my classes, right? And I have these
Yes.
classes, they're not very expensive. They are live, you're interactive, you can work with me after the lecture. It starts this Sunday. It's at store.melissacross.com. Shameless promotion, but this is what I try to invoke: is that there is a resonating strategy that is available, and I teach you how to get that um, with the exercises, and then I teach you how to do the vocal fold, like phonation, that's involved in this extreme sound in a quiet way,
Yes.
and then teach you the resonating strategy. And then it's loud enough when you just do it the way that you do it. You don't have to
Mhm.
add the loud factor by constricting and pushing, right?
Yes,
So,
and that is possibly the key. The key for that is learning to the balance. I think balance is so important in life in general,
mhm.
and and we have to like uh, do a step back and actually think about this balance, because it's important in your everyday life, in your relationship, in your career, in your art, in your music, and especially it's important on the stage in this case.
Yep.
And in fact, this balance is, it seems that it's such an easy thing, but not until you get to feel it on your own skin with every cell of your body is when you are like, okay, all right, well, I guess I don't need to be that loud. I guess I don't need to push that hard. In
Yes,
fact,
never.
also for people, exactly, also for people that know me pretty well, they know that I have a tattoo that says "Don't push," which is based on what you teach me. And I made it because for years I was still pushing. And trust me, I was told even by my musicians in the band Infected Rain, they're like, stop pushing, don't push. What is wrong with you? Don't you remember your own tattoo? Like, my voice can be raw like that sometimes, but I'm very grateful because they know me for a very long time, and they know when I am pushing, which I try to do less and less, and I learn. It's a journey to learn, and it's like a memory of your muscles that can be there and all the time if you just keep practicing and you keep those muscles in shape, because
Yes,
vocal cords are a muscle, and
very
we have
small
to keep it in.
muscles.
Yes, we have to keep it in shape, because when you don't go to the gym and you don't exercise for a month or two, what happens when you go back? You're all sore, right?
Yes.
So you have to take it easy and learn and balance, balance, balance.
Well, the vocal folds are actually, if you're female, they're smaller, but, between like 1.5 and 3 centimeters. Okay.
Wow.
That's not even the size of a fingernail, right? So vocal folds are very small muscles. They look big in the pictures. I'll show you some pictures. They look big in these magnified exam shots because that's how we diagnose pathology is with this scope that we put a camera down, and it makes an image that is the size of your computer screen, and people think that is the size of the vocal folds. They're actually tiny. So this is not like the gym where you like are
No, no,
working
no,
like
no, no,
big
no. They
muscles.
can't go bigger or smaller.
No,
It's just what it is.
they start growing, at birth, and they get as big as they're going to get when you're 30, and they always are changing. And they are not big muscles. So even the idea of warm up is kind of lame, because warm up sounds like, the harder I work, the better I get, right? And it's not about
No.
the harder I work, the better it's more about the better I coordinate and the better I can like execute this in a present moment kind of flowing way. And these images of flowing feels like singing. Like, in other words, what is pushing? What does pushing feel like? Pushing feels like when you so when you vomit and you sing something and you go like, that's way over pushing.
Absolutely.
That's pushing. So there is, what's happening with pushing is that there's a lot of activity in what's called the quadrilateral membrane. That's the stuff that's above the vocal folds. When you constrict your throat and you throw up and you go like that, that's an extreme like pressing of the upper part of the pharynx, like on a higher up than the vocal folds. But that is usually what is happening when you are pushing, because that's what you do when you get angry. You go and you like constrict, right?
In fact, all the people that are very angry and they try to scream at each other, they will find out next day that their throat hurts.
Exactly.
For sure.
And that's because of too much velocity on the closing of the vocal folds. They get swollen, and then they don't fit together when you speak. And that's why it sounds like a bunch of air, because it's a lot of escaping air, because the folds will not come together because they're too swollen from the overuse.
Yeah.
So that's what the result of pushing is. But the act of pushing is the feeling of a constriction in this part. And most people use that method because they are unaware of the subglottal pressure aspect of this. And what is subglottal pressure? Subglottal means below the vocal folds, and it's talking about how much air is behind the vocal folds that are opening and closing, right? Yeah. And that has to do with the volume of air in the lungs. Now, it's all about keeping air in the lungs without holding your breath. And so technique is about balancing those two things so that you are less likely to constrict and more likely to become aware of something else that is more consistent and less like percussive and aggressive. And yet you have to put that aggression back into the spirit of it. Like, you have to be a great actress to do this, and you are.
Thank you. Do we have any answers from people to
Yes. Here's some questions. Okay. So
no. I meant how to turn the video on. And did anybody answer you?
I did not get any. Let's see. I didn't get any. Let's see. Did I get anywhere in need of help? Nope. They're still sleeping. Okay. Okay. Let's see.
I got a good question that I read just a few minutes ago. It was regarding the physical activity, if that's very important during the tour. It is very different from person to person, I think. It depends on your body, it depends on your lifestyle. For some people it's essential, for some it's not. I know a lot of people that don't care about that and they don't really do much about that. I try to do that because, as I mentioned before, our type of performing is pretty active, and I like to warm up a little bit before every show, or actually even exercise a little. In fact, I do it every day on tour, but even when I'm not touring, I'm a pretty active person. So for me, it's essential, but I wouldn't say that's essential for every vocalist.
Well, I would say in my observation, the people that are more fit are actually better able to do the task of touring. In other words, when you're out of shape, or it's just more difficult. And when you're in shape, like the front people that I teach, like Jacoby from oh my God, something, Jacoby Shaddix from oh my God, I forgot what it is, but it's like I get these brain farts and
Papa Roach?
Yes, Papa Roach, right. So the Papa Roach thing, Tommy Vext, all of these people, like Laws is a skateboarder, like all of these people are incredibly like physically active, and they are able to maintain the stamina of running around and vocalizing, because that is hard to do.
Yeah, that's definitely hard, because then it's like doing cardio. Just try to sing while running, or try to sing while doing sit-ups or burpees or something. Just try doing that, and then you'll see how important
that's a good way to practice. Actually, I have this exercise with a chair that you move a chair around. You go, so it's like you have to like learn, like the more fit you are, the better you are able to stay not fatigued on tour. That's, and the better, it's just better, but it's not, I know a lot of artists that don't do that.
Yeah, but I don't think it's essential, but it definitely helps me out a lot, for sure.
Yes,
there was another question regarding screaming. I didn't catch the name, but a person wrote that they are trying to scream for a year now, but they are still not happy with the way it sounds at the moment. Well, it is because you're listening to yourself, in my opinion.
Okay, so wait. What was there's a lot of questions on screaming.
They are very mixed already. I just saw it while we were explaining this question. Okay. So basically the person said that they are applying the screaming techniques for a year now, but they are still not fully happy with how it sounds.
Okay, so they're in the classes, in the scream class, and again, the speak class, it has the basics of the scream class. The scream class gets into the different types of functions of screaming. And in my observation, the people that learn fry screaming have a better time with all of the other ones. I also noticed that people have somehow gotten into this idea that compartmentalizing screaming is a good idea. It is not to compartmentalize. You don't want to do, I only do this kind of screaming. I only do that kind of screaming. I think it was my fault because I compartmentalized it in 2004. I didn't mean to make people do one over the other. I wanted the coordination of everyone to be able to do all of it. And in my observation, the ones that learn the nuanced coordination of fry do much better with all the others. And that's because fry screaming is almost just like singing. It's just doing something different with the source. So there's a lot of questions about like there's one question that says, Melissa Cross talks about like, how do you do that with, that closed mouth thing that you do? That was an exercise to get to the source function. Let me explain. The vocal instrument has a source, which is the vocal folds, right? Those little muscles that are right behind your Adam's apple, guys, and right behind that bump, right in the larynx. And the vocal folds are the source. And then there's a filter, like a mixing board inside the throat, which is the space around it. It is the resonating cavity, right? And there's two chambers. There's the back, which is where kind of the vowel starts, like in the back of the throat when you yawn. That place is called the posterior vocal tract, or the back. And the front of the vocal tract also has to do with the mixing board of what the vocal folds do. That is called the anterior, or the front portion of the vocal. So there's the back vocal tract and the front. And the front is where the tongue, the lips, the teeth, everything, that's the front cavity. So the sound of what's happening is very much influenced by what's going on in those spaces. And the source can often be absolutely the same, especially in fry screaming. So when I'm doing that exercise where I'm teaching people how to just go, that is not a musical note. It sounds like a low note, but it's not. I didn't make a musical note. What I did was I just went, Now, that is called vocal fry or pulse register. It's like registers are functions of the source, okay? So when I'm singing, right, my vocal folds are making a wave, right? And when I am pulsating like that, they're not coming together and making a periodic cycle per second, which is a pitch. It's not a pitch. It's just they're farting. They're going, right? So when I do, it is, that's what it is. And I'm going to show you a picture of it. I'm going to show you a picture of it. You want to see a picture? I'll show you.
Yes, please.
Watch the picture.
I love all the pictures that you do.
Let's see. Let me see. This is what my assistant usually does, but I'm going to show you right now. This is, do you see this thing here?
This is vocal porn, guys.
Yeah, this is okay. So this is vocal porn. If you have if you are very squeamish, don't look at this. Okay. So I'm gonna. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's happening here, right? And you see my cursor, right? It's moving around like this. Okay. So you see that these two white things, those are vocal folds. They're magnified many, many, many hundreds of times. Now, what you're looking at is what's called high-speed video. This is very slow motion. So this entire clip is like 1 second of phonation. So there's no sound with this because you couldn't match the time in the sound and the time in the frames, right? So if you can see that here, right, there is this black, that is space, that is hollow. Right?
Yeah.
These, if you look through here, if you were able to see down here, you would look down my windpipe into my lungs in here. So you're looking towards the floor here. And this part at the bottom, let me start this again. The part at the bottom is the front of your neck, and the part at the top here is the back of your neck. So they're sideways.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you see that they're close together, but they're not making a wave, except that this thing right here, this is called the hybrid. So the back of the vocal folds are doing the farting, and you see at the bottom, you see that part right there, it's making a wave. So what that is what I call the hybrid phonation. That's when I'm going, yeah. So there's a note and then there's some noise. It's raspy singing.
Yeah.
So you can see that the vocal folds are making a periodic wave. Like if you can see me in the camera, I'm doing this with my hands. The vocal folds are doing this, and that is a repeating frequency. That's to show that it's a note. I'm going, ah, right? But I'm going, ah. So I'm allowing some of my vocal folds to pulsate in a fry way, and only a portion to be singing, right? A note, right? Now, if I were to do pure fry, right? And I'll get that up in just a second, but let me stop the share and do it with my hands for a second, right?
Uh-huh.
So if I were to do like without the note in it and just go, right? That is just my vocal folds. They're in proximity. They're not open. They're not pressed together. They're not making a pitch. They're in proximity, and they're farting like this. So I'm just going, and I can change the nature of that. And that is what I was teaching with the quiet thing that person asked. Like, they weren't able to understand that was an exercise to get to square one of the fry phonation. It's not that quiet. It's just to get there, we have to eliminate all of the idea of loudness, brutality, right? So in my classes, I talk about this coordination, often misunderstood. And I think that the person that asked about, how does that go into fry screaming? I think you misinterpreted that wasn't the end all. That's just the beginning of what it feels like to go. And I want everyone to do this. I want everyone to go, you see, it's like constant. You don't have to, you just let it go, right? That's that pulsating feeling. But fry screaming is slightly different because the spaces that I talked about in the vocal tract are different. So if I go, it sounds higher because it's faster.
It even sounds louder too, and I know you didn't make it louder, right?
I did not make it loud, but it sounds louder, and that is because of the Fletcher-Munson curve, right? So loud is not loud is a perception. It's not an action. Well, but in my world, right? Loud is something the audience perceives, and because of the Fletcher-Munson curve, these frequencies at 5,000 hertz and at 8,000 hertz, when I go, that's actually 10,000 hertz. On the Voce Vista, that like rings out like 10,000 hertz. That means 10,000 cycles per second. That's that vibration. That is so fast. That's not even on the piano. That doesn't even that is, but to the ear, the human ear hears 5K as louder. So that Fletcher-Munson curve is like this thing, like from so many feet, what do people think is loud? And they have proved that 5,000 K is the loudest, but we don't ever sing 5,000 K because if you're singing like a C above middle C, that's 500 K, right? Wow. So you're talking like, middle C is like 250 K. Not 5,000. So the element, remember I told you about how the bass and the kick drum and everything else is like taking up that those frequency, that frequency band. If you have something that's like 8,000 K, right? That's really loud to people, not only because they can hear it by contrast, but because the ear is sensitive to it. And that is the hardest sell for a metal vocalist. Because it takes nothing to go and I change the vowel. If I go oh as opposed to a, I did a oh oh oh, and this one, but when I did this and did the fry phonation, it was different because I did something with the filter, not the source.
Yes, correct.
All right. So
I think all that is very helpful for everybody who is asking a lot about how to do it lower and higher. It's all about the sound. It's all about the mouth shape as well. And I had a good question that I read, and I think it's a very often asked one is, okay, well, what do you do if you are on tour and you somehow still damaged your voice, what to do.
Okay.
So
you answer that because you know. I already
I would
taught you.
say yes. I know you you shared that before in a lot of your videos and in your DVDs. And if you guys don't have it, you should definitely purchase that, or have at least one personal lesson with Melissa, because everybody's so unique and you need a unique approach for yourself. And that's very important, to have at least one lesson and then go from there. But
well, the group lessons are better.
That too.
Yeah.
I can say for myself that nothing helps more than just putting a lock on your mouth and not talk for a while. And that helps very, very much. Then, have a good sleep. That helps a lot too. Don't party after shows, and being social is important. But I apply a rule, actually, even nowadays, when I feel very confident about my vocals and everything. And again, some of my fans know that, but whenever I go out after the show, and you guys can see me at the merchandise table, I don't chat. I don't, because the music is too loud for me to talk to you after the show.
Mm-hmm.
The music in the venues, and or another band that is playing or something else, I do not want to scream above that sound in order for you to hear me. So that's why all you get from me is nods and hugs, and I will say thank you, but just with my lips, not with the sound. So basically what I'm trying to say here is, even if you're doing well and even if you are very confident, do not don't overuse your voice after the shows, at the parties or after parties or hangouts. In fact, you will never see me around much after the shows. So that is a rule. But definitely stay hydrated, have enough sleep, and whenever next day, take it easy and do the exercises, and do the straw helps me a lot, the exercise with the straw. And if you want to know more about it, you have to do the class with Melissa, because I'm not going to tell you.
I can tell people that part. But you know what, Lena, Khalil is here. I see Khalil.
Yes,
Khalil,
please.
are you there?
Hello.
Khalil.
I'm here.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
Khalil, can you please put Lena on camera? I cannot do it from here for some reason.
Okay, you need to host me up.
I need to host you. I'll host you up. Okay, I'm gonna host you up. All right, you're gonna host you up.
You have no idea how happy we are that you're here.
Oh my God, I could not get this done. Okay, so I'm gonna make you a co-host, Khalil.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I made you a co-host. I see your picture. All right, so now you need to make Lena in the picture. How can we do that? There she is. Okay.
There she is now.
And where's her camera? I can't undo her camera.
There we go.
Where is she?
She can start now.
Start your camera now. Can you start
Start
it yet?
my video. Yeah. Woo! Oh, hello. Bye.
Oh my God. I'm I feel so embarrassed. I am lost without my Khalil. I am lost without Khalil.
Khalil, can you do another favor? I can't hear myself. So I can only hear you. Yeah, I can only hear you guys. I mean, I hear myself because I'm talking, but I'm not hearing myself in my headphones. I don't know why.
Zoom doesn't have that. You can't hear yourself through your headphones through Zoom, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh.
I did hear myself when we practiced the other day.
Oh. All right, I'll work on that.
Okay, well, I can do this a little bit like that, so I can hear myself for now. But if you can figure that out, that would be amazing. Hello, everybody. Now you can see me. I put this cool new shirt on for you.
Those are my colors.
Even see me.
Those are my colors.
Yes.
Those are my
Hello,
colors.
Everybody. Oh my God. Hi. So I want to, because we took this small little break, I want to say thank you for all, I think 130 people we have online at the moment. And hopefully you guys are having fun, because I was looking forward for this, and I'm having and I'm having a lot of fun. So we can continue with the answers. And Melissa was saying something about the straws. And hey, look how prepared I am. I even have 3 different straws here to show you guys, just normal straws that you can just take on tour with you and use. And just a little advice for myself: you don't have to throw them away after every day you use them. You can use this for the whole tour.
The whales.
Save the environment. And if you have,
yes.
You don't have to use these specific ones, but these are 3 different sizes that you need, and it will help and save your life.
Okay, so I want to explain that straw thing, because what that straw thing is called, those are called semi-occluded vocal tract exercises. And those were sort of taught to the world again. It started in Finland in the early, 1900s, when they were treating people with pathology called dysphonia, muscle tension or spasmodic dysphonia. And they would treat people by blowing through a straw into bubbles. And they would phonate and go, and then blow these bubbles, and it would cause the coordination of good vocal behavior. So that's where it started. But this guy, Ingo Titze, I-N-G-O as his first name, and T-I-T-Z-E or Z-E, Titze, right? You can go on YouTube, Ingo Titze straw exercise, and he will give you the exercises. I did not make those up. Those exercises are the rage of the Metropolitan Opera.
Oh my God, those are
Broadway,
amazing.
metal. I use a big old jug.
Actors.
Yeah, it's like,
I use that too, yeah.
Yeah. We have a big bottle I use a big bottle of water. That's my style. I have these big, long silicone tubes that, food grade silicone, not the poison stuff. I make these tubes, and all my artists like, are like phonating in the bottle.
In the backstage for sure.
Right. And so when you have wrecked your voice, you need to shut up. That is the best medicine, is to stop the use of the vocal folds so that the swelling can go down. There are medications called steroids, prednisone. They have some side effects, and they will shrink the swelling, not shrink your vocal folds, shrink the swelling to a degree so you can get some action out of those swollen folds. But it's dangerous because your vocal folds aren't well yet, and you'll go and slam them, and then you think you sound like a bird, but you're still sick. So, there's pros and cons. But anyway, I talk about this in my classes. So if the answer to that question was shut up, vocal rest.
More sleep, vocal
rest.
Yes,
more sleep, more water, and don't talk. That's the best thing. Yes. So let's see. Oh, wow. There's somebody that actually named Barbie who actually, oh my God. Yes. Thank you. You have this Barbie actually looked up the whole article. And she gave me the answer at the beginning of the broadcast, but I was too busy talking to find. Thank you, Barbie. Okay, so, thank you. I like my hair. Is it really important to do a gym fit? Yeah, we answered that. I did it, so I do it. What I did it once, it helped me reach for a higher range. Wait, I don't know. Advaya, I don't understand the question. Okay, I do start off with screaming. And what do you have for those who want to start doing screaming vowels? Okay, so those of you who want to start screaming, I would say the best thing to do is not to imitate what it sounds like, but to learn phonation. I would say that my class is a really good way to start it. I mean,
absolutely.
The DVD is, it's going to be actually digitized in 2 weeks. I just got the word, 2 weeks. They deinterlaced DVD is going in my shopping cart, right? So everybody can download it. But in the meantime, at store.melissacross.com, you can actually buy the recordings of former classes. So you won't get to interact with me one-on-one, but you'll get the information. And then this Sunday, we're starting a new set of classes at store.melissacross.com. So let me see if there's any other questions.
I want to add to your what you were saying regarding the screaming as well. I think it's very important to say, and I will say that out loud, although these are your words, and I think they are absolutely amazing and people don't think about it. So a lot of, especially new artists, what they try to do when they start singing or screaming, they try to sound like a different vocalist that already exists. Stop doing that, guys, because I am me, you are you, and everybody's its own individual, and we have totally different voices, and you stop trying to sound like somebody else because it won't help you. It won't. And when you're going to actually give up on that, you will see how amazing you can sound, and it's going to be your authentic sound.
Yes, authentic is like using what you have. Everybody has a perfect voice already. So when you go to vocal lessons, it's not to fix your voice. It's to allow your voice to be what it is. So it's like, and I think that when I started taking lessons as a child, I thought that lessons were to fix your voice. I thought that my voice was wrong and I needed somebody to tell me what to do to make it right. And that is not a good way to look at it. It's about having to like use what you are and
it's
feel
like you're in
what
a
you
car
are.
and you have to learn how to drive it. That's it. That's
Exactly,
basically what
exactly.
it is.
Your own car, right? And drive it from the steering wheel with muscles that don't have any steering wheels. And that is the challenge. Because I mean, if I asked you, Elena, I said, just close your vocal folds at the top. What are you gonna do? There's nothing there. It's like, you know, there's no proprioception of what that feels like.
It's not like moving a limb. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where like the wacko voice teacher with all the imagery comes in. That's why we're such whack jobs. Because we say like sing out your head or sing over the pencil or, you know, use your angel wings or do the dump or do the hoo-hoo or like all these like really
birthday
bizarre
candles, all those, And if you guys want to know what all those things are, again, you will be familiar with them if you know what Melissa is actually teaching.
That's it. So is there anybody?
We got some questions in the Q&A.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, thanks. That's what you're hired for, Khalil.
Yeah.
All right. So Ambra V is asking that, she says, hi, my problem with the fry screams is that there is too much air when I scream. Even if I take a short breath, I wonder where is that problem coming from and how to avoid that. Thank you.
Okay, so that airiness is happening because the proximity of the vocal folds are not close enough. Now, how do you make that happen? There's no direct way to make that happen. But there are, in other words, if you're doing like whispering, and there's this airflow that's coming out, that's not fry. It sounds like fry a little bit on a microphone, but you can't really control it because remember there's a balance. There is air pressure and there's vocal fold closure or not closure. Those are the two parts of the equation. So if you have too much opening and air is escaping through the vocal folds, or what's called the glottis, right? If there's too much air escaping, then you don't get any signal, because the way that you get this is by air pressure against obstruction to that air. Like if I put air in my cheeks and I close my lips, I blow out birthday candles. But if my mouth is open, it's diffuse, right? And the air is escaping and I can't do a whole lyric because all the air is gone. But if
balance,
I go,
guys, balance.
Yeah, it's balance between the two. So I would go with my, in my scream class, I talk about fry. I actually almost developed more than half of that class to fry, because fry can be entered. It's such a fat sound and it's so non-effort based that it's a whole new world. And then with that lack of effort base, you can do all the other ones without the effort. It's the efforting that is the problem with screaming. So these are really like game changers in terms of you need more proximity of your vocal folds. What does that mean? It means not going and not going, but something in between, which is like, so if I start with that humming thing, and that this is another person asked the question about like that thing that I start with how to teach fry screaming. So if you do this moaning thing, if you go, I'm just going, but I'm taking the voice out, like, it sounds like a squeaky hinge, like windshield wipers going. It's the sound of the rubber on the glass.
Like a door opening in a scary movie.
Yes, like,
yes.
right? That is, that noise that you make when you imitate those sounds is the proximity of the vocal folds together that will distinguish a difference with what you're doing and what is supposed to be done. That, I hope that answers your question.
And honestly, you can even try to do that in your everyday life, just humming like that. You know, again, a lot of people that know me closer and spend time with me, especially on tour, sometimes they're like, you are aware that you're making noises at the moment, right? It's not in my head. I'm like, yeah, I'm aware, don't worry. I would just be in a conversation with somebody or just doing something and always making that noise with my mouth closed all the time.
And the thing is that when I do that and demonstrate that in a restaurant to, like, maybe I'm talking to another vocal teacher and talking about it, and I go like that, everybody in the restaurant turns around and hears it, because the tiniest little bit of volume, and I'm talking about, it's something like at 20 dB, like 20, that's really low. People can hear that at 20 dB, 50 feet away. So everybody turns around and I'm just going like, this is super quiet. That's almost a whisper, but that sounded louder to you, right?
Yeah,
because your ear picks it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the smoke and mirrors part of metal.
Let's see if we have other questions here.
All right, so Victoria is asking how to make high screams not tingle and make you want to cough.
Stop using the constriction method. Stop using the raising of the constriction. The thing when you throw up and you go, that is the most extreme constriction. When you pretend like you're vomiting and you go, like any level of that is constriction. When you make that move, that is constriction. And what the fry thing is not, it's the opposite. So I want you to learn the non-constriction method first. Then you can go to constriction and use it with the counterbalance of the what I call the hoo-hoo. Yeah. Which is, everybody's got a hoo-hoo down there, you know, like this. I had to change it from dump and the baby because we're in a gender fluid era now. So hoo-hoo,
you can't say
hoo-hoo.
Things anymore.
So hoo-hoo, everybody's got a hoo-hoo, right?
Yeah.
So that it's the combination of understanding how to navigate breath pressure and that less constricted phonation, to learn the basics that way. And then you can get into constriction. The reason that constriction doesn't work and it's not sustainable is because usually it's done without the support of the subglottal or the breath pressure. And so you got to learn breath pressure navigation before you start going, right? Otherwise, you will do that too hard.
And that's where I want to add just a few more things here. That's where it helps me to do the vocal exercises, because even if I do them, for example, I'm not on tour and I do them, I don't know, a few times a week, not really every day, right? Because I'm not on tour and I have a bunch of time away from the band because I live far from the band. And I with my vocal exercises, I can feel sometimes that tickly feeling in my throat, and after warming up properly, it's gone. So if you're going to warm up and control the air and find that balance between the air pressure, your vocal cords, and everything that's coming out from your mask, from your face, then I feel like you're not going to have those problems anymore while actually singing, while practicing, rehearsing, recording, or having a live show.
I'm going to give you an example, everybody, an example when I'm talking about this coordination. If you put your hands right above your top lip like this, and this would be a pencil in the DVD, right? We have a pencil in our, yes, pencil, yes. And if you make this sound of like this, like, yee, like that, like what they do in a country western bar when they're going, yee, right? If you
That's why I love Melissa so much.
You make that noise like, yee-haw, not the ha part, but the yee and yee-haw. You can almost feel the sound emanate from above your hands. Now, when you do that, right, I want you to notice what happens down in your pelvic floor where your hoo-hoo is, right? It feels like when you go, when you do that, it's almost like the pelvic floor goes, in tandem, right? So that is volume. That is what volume is. It's not about being loud. It's not about overusing this. It's about navigating the coordination. And that thing that I just described is a good example of how these things work together. And when you lose the bottom part of that, or the subglottal pressure, that is when you are overusing. That's it. That's the only way that people get hurt, unless they're sick. That bad technique is really about lack of subglottal pressure, usually. That's what the problem is usually. It's usually an over emphasizing of the muscles in the pharynx, which are, you know, they're not sustainable to be beaten on, right? So you've got to so that's what vocal training is like feeling what it feels like to do it sustainably, not what it sounds like, but what it feels like. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next question.
Next question.
Next question. Can you give me, Matthew is asking, can you give me tips for projecting while fry screaming?
Okay. You don't need to project volume. Again, here's a question that you're thinking like projection is about effort. It is not about the effort. It is about changing the frequencies by changing a vowel shape. So if I'm going, right, that's a higher frequency. That is going to be louder. It's going to appear louder. It's not effort louder. It is like if I go, oh, and you hear that squeal thing? That squeal is much louder to people's ears than the pushing thing. It's not about your effort. It's about understanding how to manipulate vowel shapes to create the kind of screams that you want. But it's never about effort. Never.
And that comes with practice for sure. But if you tend to practice at home with all those different shapes of your mouth as well, you will see how you can distort or change that fry scream just thanks to your mouth, your tongue, your palate, everything. The position is important for sure. Like I can still sometimes discover a new sound when I do a different thing with my mouth. It's just practice.
And even like raspy singing, even not scream, but like singing a note. This is about like slack. It's not about grind. Like most people think, oh, I'm going to put distortion in my voice. I'm going to go and like do that scrapey thing. And that scrapey thing is actually what gets people hurt. When you feel it in your throat, it's usually you've misfired. That's usually not a good thing because you've used too much force for that. So there's another way to do that. And so when I go, that is pressing my vocal folds together. That is like press. But if I go, oh, forget it. Whatever. I'm not going, I'm just going, I'm phoning it in. I'm not even closing my folds. I'm being lazy. So if there's like a passage like, whoa, right, I can go, whoa, whoa. I just like rasped that. I just phoned it in. I didn't sing the note. I didn't go, whoa. I went, whoa, and I recovered it, right? But I didn't scrape anything, right? So I could sing really raspy anytime I want without going, because that's what fry is. That is like the beauty of fry, is that those frequencies are super high. There's
high. A lot of people asking about other musician vocalists. Do you want to bring that up for us, Khalil?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Q&A, but I did see a question about Corey and Randy Blythe here. It says, when I see Corey Taylor and Randy Blythe screaming, it feels like they're using too much strength to do different kinds of screams in just a single song. So do they really use a lot of strength or balancing strength and the technique? Or are they balancing
balance.
strength in the technique? Yeah, that's what it is.
It's balance, and also when you have an actual microphone, I feel like it's a little bit different, because you have to learn to practice with a microphone as well as without one. So you are not like freaking out when you have an actual microphone. You're like, oh my God, this is not me. It doesn't even sound like me.
The mic is part of the sound, by the way. The mic is part of the, the mic has a great deal to do with the compression of everything. Like it's all of those subharmonics that are compressed into one signal that makes it seem like a thing, but it doesn't feel like, it feels a little bit more granular, not granular, but a little bit more, it doesn't feel quite so succinct when it comes out. So that's why you don't want to listen to it. Don't listen to it. Don't listen to it. Just feel what it feels like. Okay. But there was something that you said about Randy and Corey. Okay, so Randy and Corey both use fry and hybrid. Very rarely does Corey use false chord anymore, because he's figured out how to do the hybrid. So, and also he's a tremendous actor, right? So when he looks like he's straining, he's actually not. It's just a face and a posture but he is very controlled. And basically he has a lot of fry that he puts what the hybrid thing. So he goes like, and I put my voice in there. And that was a hybrid thing where I put some speaking voice, but he rarely goes, he rarely does the constriction, rarely. And that was important to him, especially for the record Subliminal Voices and touring that record, which is where he got hurt, because there was a lot of singing in that record. And there was like a lot of transitioning between singing notes and screaming. And the only way that you can make an easy transition is to do that with the hybrid phonation. Right?
And I can add to it, because for those of you who know Infected Rain a little bit better, we have a lot of singing, a lot. And there's a lot of transitioning from screaming to singing that is right away in the same sentence with the same amount of air that I start with singing and finishing in screaming or vice versa.
Yes.
I love doing that because that delivers a lot of emotion. So I really made sure I figured out how to do that. And that helps me a lot to deliver emotion, by the way. That helped me a lot to find that balance. And I love doing that. And what helps me is when I do my vocal warm-ups and I pick, for example, a phrase or a part of a song that is relatively difficult, it's my own song, but I know it's like a challenging one, I always do that with hee-hees. And that is a technique that you taught me, and that saved my life. I do that with the notes of that without saying the actual words. I just do that with hee-hees, and that helps me a lot. So again, it's another technique that I was taught by you, and it saved my ass.
That's a confidence thing, because people who write songs, they think they know the song because they wrote the song, but you don't know the song until you feel what note comes next. So doing this like above the pencil E shape and these little staccato hee-hees makes you draw a map of the frequency. So you're not searching for anything. You just know the intervals just by this, doing these pitches in the same registration, which is, it's called M2. I don't want to get into that thing, because we're coming to the end, because I got a lesson in about 15 minutes and I got to prepare. Isn't that a drag? I'm going to stay on as long as I can. Maybe I should have my student come in here, right?
You should. Let everybody join.
No, but this is free.
True.
Anyway, guys, I wanted to talk about Randy and also Corey, because both of those artists are baritone bass or baritone, right? And they have really long vocal tracks. That is like what makes us have different voices is the size of the vocal tract, the amount, what's in the tissue of the vocal folds, are all these variables that make us like a perfect snowflake. We're all different, the space inside. But both of those guys have big ranges and long vocal tracks. So when they do something like, right? It is so fat and so low, and they're just frying, and it sounds like this big fat growl. It's like Europe has this
like
word called growl, which is like, right? And that is, I mean, I can do it, but I can't do it as big as Randy, but it doesn't matter, because when I go, right, it sounds close enough for my body. I mean, people will accept that as my growl, but Randy and Corey have a like longer vocal tract. So they do things quite naturally without effort because of that. They don't go for a look, but but the trick is, I believe, is to go in and out of it in a really fluid way. Like, I love Ginger. I love that band, but I wish that there was some like meeting, like, cause there's like a distortion part and then there's beautiful singing, distortion, beautiful singing. And it's not, I never hear like her use like the distortion in her, maybe she chooses that, but I prefer that the humanity of that sound goes everywhere. That's my taste. It's purely a matter of taste.
Same. I agree with you. And I tend to notice that the bands I listen for my own pleasure, metal bands that I listen, the vocalists do that. So, like, let's take the band Architects, for example, or North Lane, or, Gojira. They all use that
They're all my students.
I love them. And hey, and I am, I feel so lucky to be in the list with all those amazing, students you have. So I do not try to be like them. I do not try to sound like them, but I love and appreciate that, that amazing marriage between singing and screaming. And that's the only thing that I try to apply with Infected Rain, and it works well. And I feel like I can deliver so much that I can cry on the stage. I feel goosebump on the stage from my own songs that I actually sing for years and years, and I'm not sick of it because I feel it with every cell of my body. And when you're going to start feeling it and not just listening to it, that's when you're going to have all those goosebumps from your own music, from your own band.
I agree with that. So it's I taught you Fry. And Fry screaming is sort of the basis of being able to transfer from singing to screaming to speaking on the same flow kind of place. It all feels just like, but you're going, it's not like, it's like a headspace that is all about like your feeling of these functions, and not you imitating these sounds, but you driving them. And so I just want to remind you that you can come to class, on Sunday. If you're a screamer, you should take the speak class first, because that talks about breathing and placement for everything, for speaking, for screaming, for singing, everything. And that also has the screamer warm up in it. And it also has the stamina exercises. So in the speak class, so speak class is not how to like be a voiceover professional. Speak class is how to use your voice 101. And then sing is all about the resonating strategies. And screaming is also about the distortion and the resonating strategies. So it's one big course. You can take it in 3 parts.
Very important.
Right? You can take it in 3 parts.
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to say there's another thing that was very specific for my voice. I don't know if you remember, Melissa, in the very first lessons that we took together, both of us discovered that I do not speak properly. And at the time, I was actually having different jobs, and at the same time, I was working in different places. And one of the jobs was being a bartender in a nightclub. And so I had to talk to customers louder than the music and be there. And if you don't speak properly, you will hurt yourself.
Yes.
So I do still till this day, although I don't do that job, and I have my own knowledge of what it is about vocals and your classes and everything, but still I do I do the exercises for my speaking. I still do it because I feel like that is my problem. That is still something that is specific to my voice. And I can, even on tour, sometimes when I talk, some people would say that, are you okay? Your voice is okay? Is everything okay? I'm like, what do you mean? Because people don't know how I normally sound. People don't know. And when I go on a stage and they're like, wait, what show is this for you? I don't know. I don't remember, 40 something. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh my God. Like, so sometimes when I speak, I don't apply the rules and that I still make that mistake.
If you warm up in the morning, you won't make the mistake.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Don't be lazy, because I can be lazy sometimes, and I do that.
This is the regimen of my artists, right, on tour. It's a 3-minute speak warm up that you can do in bed, in the shower, while you're waiting for tea. You know, it is the first thing that you do before you say anything. It's 3 minutes, and it's almost like vocal meditation. It involves like me, you know, it's like this whole the numbers and all that. And then you take a little break, and then you do the stamina thing, which is, you know, the lips and tongue and the articulation exercises, and then the plosive, all those things, and then the singing warm up, which starts with the Z's and the you know, all that stuff. And you know what? It's 15 minutes. The whole thing is 15 minutes, done in small increments throughout the day. It's not about warming up a lot. And guess what? It doesn't wear off. So it's like when you do your warm up, you don't have to do it right before the show. It doesn't wear off. You're done. You do anytime a day.
The only thing is also, a lot of people ask me that, how do you do it on tour? And, you know, some of the exercises I do, they involve louder noises, obviously. And trust me, it is very often, the majority of the time, I have other people around me. The majority. It doesn't matter if I go and try to find another room or go into the restroom or somewhere to be separate. They will hear me, and I will bother them. And you know what? I don't give a shit. Because, and trust me, I got a lot of hate from other bands that we would open for, or bands that would open for us, and they would be like, oh, I'm sorry, but this is so loud, can you not do this, or can you do this another? No, because this is my job, and I am going to do it. Right. For 15 to 25 minutes, whatever it is that you need, you have to do it. And if you're ashamed, or you're like, I don't know, you just don't want to bother others, it's a big mistake you're doing. It's a big mistake you're doing. Because
I have some good news. I have some good news though, because tomorrow, tomorrow at 3 Eastern, right, I'm going to be talking to Garrett from Silent Planet, and I have started to work on a warm-up that is silent. Silent warm-up. Yes, I know, because we're all quarantined now.
People try to kill me on tour. Kill me. Like, I have my own YouTube channel, and I post some videos of the tour, and you can see people like actually hate on me. I don't care.
You know what? It doesn't matter. But Lena, you're on your way to like David Draymond. He has a backstage room that's soundproof. That's the vocal warm-up room. And he goes to that room. It's set up. It's part of the rider. Oh, he goes like it's like, you know, when you're going to get there. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're on your way.
It doesn't bother me. I love it. It doesn't bother me. It bothers the others. Let them have their own room. Hey, so, if you don't love me when I do my hee ha-has and my, you know, Mickey Mouse warm up, then you don't love me really. So I'm sorry.
Okay, but I leave it to all of you guys if you want to learn the Mickey Mouse opera warm up, and it's actually, the Mickey Mouse opera is an exercise and I'll just give it to you. It's like it's about like understanding the contrast between constriction and resonance. So if I go me 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 me, that sounds like Mickey Mouse, right? And I go me 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 me, and then I switch to right, I switch to, without changing the note, I switch to a different sensation. And
I
that's
get
like,
so addicted to that feeling. I
yeah,
love to do that.
that's
I
the
love
rush. That's the rush. Every time there's a word with E in it, my head blows up, and it's like, oh, cool.
it. Yeah. Yes, I did it.
It's
You
legal.
get excited.
It's legal. Yeah, because it's like, woo, E.
Yeah.
So
Do we
anyway,
have time for answering some other question at least?
well, I can keep you guys on, like you and Khalil can stay on. How about
Hello.
that?
Okay.
I
Yeah,
stream
Khalil.
too.
Yeah, Khalil is an awesome screamer. He's my student and my
Perfect.
partner. He is my assistant and my friend and my student, and he is badass. So, and guess what? He's only 19.
20 now.
Oh, wait till you had a birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're still pretty damn young. So I'm gonna, why don't you take, how do I give this to you? How do I do this for you? I'm going to stop my video, right? If I stop my video?
Yeah, it's at the bottom left.
Yeah, I'm going to stop my video and I'm going to say, hey, everybody, thank you. I have to go and teach another lesson, but I am going to be here tomorrow at 3 Eastern with Garrett from Silent Planet, 3 Eastern on Saturday with Eve Minor, and on Sunday the classes start. They start at 1 Eastern and 7 Eastern. Go to store.melissacross.com. And the DVD, if you still want that, it's older information, but it's the same pretty much. It's just I got more new stuff. It still works.
Still important. Yeah.
And you'll get
so much,
recordings,
Melissa.
I think. By the way, you get recordings. If you can't make the classes, you can get recordings and you get them forever. And they're, anyway, I love you. I love you, Lena. Let's do this again. We can do this anytime. If you get bored and you want to talk to your fans, I am down. Okay. So I have an open calendar. Hey, how long are we going to be in quarantine? We might as well learn something, right?
Exactly. Thank you so much for everything. Take care of yourself. Stay safe.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. And for those of you that still want to stay with us,
still got some questions.
Yeah, let's try to answer some questions, Khalil.
All right. So we had a really good question here. Let me see. Where is it? We had one towards you, actually.
Perfect. Let's do that.
So many. I have to find it again.
That's okay. I do have some time, so.
Inca Hum, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, do you feel you ever lose your fry while doing it for longer periods? Could it be I'm sometimes trying to do it too loud? It makes me nervous when thinking about upcoming gigs if my screams fail. Thank you. You are fire. Love from Finland.
Oh, thank you. Well, yes, and I will repeat some stuff that Melissa said already. It's definitely you trying to listen to what comes out of your mouth. It's definitely you overthinking. Just go with the flow, relax, find that balance between your body and the noises that come from your body, and it's going to be fine. I actually feel like the more I scream, the better I get. Actually, in time it only gets better and better. It doesn't it's not that it gets better, it's that I am having a better understanding of it and I can use my tools better. Does it make sense? But definitely not, I never feel like I'm losing it. Nope.
I think it helps when you can hear yourself too, like when the monitor is good or when you have good in-ear monitors. I think that really helps a lot.
That's why I said before that try to also practice with the microphone. So with actually hearing your voice that comes out from the in-ear monitors or just earphones or actual monitors. It depends even if you're not rehearsing and you just have your own microphone at home and you just between you and it's very important to hear that voice of yours as well, not only the one that is like outside the earphones that you're using or the monitors. It's important to use the microphone as well.
So I hope I don't butcher this, but Nastasia S is asking, what is your tour practice routine?
Well, yes, I can share that with you for sure, but also I invite everybody to join me on my YouTube channel because I do so much there for the fans and band supporters, and I do share a lot of that there. But basically, to make it short, I try my best to have the same routine every day. So first of all, as soon as I wake up, the first thing I do, I drink a big glass of water. So I try to stay hydrated. Then I eat vegan, so that works very well for me. It gives me a little bit more energy. Even if you're not having a vegan diet, try to include in your everyday some fruit, because fruit gives you a lot of vitamins and it boosts your immune system and it feels like you have more energy. So I do exercise, a physical exercise every day, a minimum of 30 minutes to an hour. It can be yoga, stretching, or actual workout. And I do my warm up also depending on where I am and when I can do it. It's a minimum of 15 minutes to 30 minutes, vocal exercises every day. I use my own vocal exercises that I have with Melissa on my phone. So Melissa records her students, and then you have access to your own lesson. So this is what I do if I open my playlist over here. I don't know if I can show you. I have different exercises from different years, actually. I even have my first one. And I just, I have my favorite exercises that I feel like I need more in this time of the day or in this time of the year or whatever. And some exercises that I just do because I love them. But yeah, this is my routine. And, after obviously I need to get ready and put my makeup on so I can look presentable for my fans. But after the show, I always try to be very gentle with my voice. So even though I go out and I sign and take pictures with the fans, I try my best to speak as little as possible, and I do not really party much, although I know the stereotype of the metalhead is to party and drink and smoke and stay up all night. I'm not very good at that, and I'm not a good drinker or anything, so I very rarely stay up late, and I try to have a good amount of sleep, because I normally am a very light sleeper, so I have trouble sleeping. So even if I just lay down, close my mouth, and not talk to anybody, that is already vocal rest. So I try to rest as much as I can. That's it. That's all I do.
Jacob is asking, what's one of your personal favorite songs you perform in Infected Rain?
So far, I think I have a huge love for Sweet Sweet Lies, and it's an older song actually, and we keep playing it. We usually play it as the last song, and I just feel that like it's such a heavy and brutal song and with a heavy message, and I love it. In fact, the majority of the times when we perform that song, I even go down in the crowd, and I love to like hold you and hug you while doing that, or scream in your face. I love that.
So Lucrezia Lamachia, I hope I pronounced that right, says, I've been singing for around 10 years. I'm 23 currently and making music with my band. Whenever I sing something more aggressive, my throat doesn't hurt, but my whole body feels tired, like I've been working out. Does that mean that I'm doing it wrong, or that I have to exercise more?
Well, it could be that you're still pushing a little bit. Maybe there's still maybe a little bit you could work on, in where you relax a little bit more and you find the balance a little bit better. Maybe with practice you will feel that. But also depends what is, so different bands act differently on a stage. So it depends what else you do while performing and singing. I feel like you can feel sometimes I have shows after the whole set, I will be in the backstage and I'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe this is over. I can go on like this for another 2 hours. Like I want to go back on the stage. Or sometimes I go back and I'm like, I'm so tired. Like the last two songs, I couldn't, like, I barely made it till the end. So that depends, especially if you're a girl, that depends of many other aspects of being a girl, and I'm not going to talk about these, but it depends of many things. How much sleep you had, when did you have your meal, and so many things are important. But that's where I'm going back into saying that I feel like everybody is so unique. Some people don't even need vocal warm-up, and they can go on with shows, and they're like, oh, you know, I sing every day on the stage, I don't need my vocal warm-up. Good for you. I still need it. I don't know if it's a mental thing, but it gives me confidence, and I'm like, I got this. You know. I don't know.
I saw a video.
That's the only way I can. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw a video where Randy Blythe said that he doesn't practice. He never practices at all.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting.
I don't think that's incorrect. I don't. If you feel confident and you feel like you got it, you know, some people are like, okay, well, you know, during the first song, while they're still like doing the sound and everything, I'm good to go. The next song sounds perfect and I'm warmed up enough. I heard different theories regarding warm up, but you know, I found that this routine works best for me, and I'll stick to it. And here we are, only to share what we are doing, so I can talk only from my perspective.
Electo is asking, what microphone model do you use in rehearsals and live shows?
Oh, I use the same microphone for live and for rehearsals. I don't know why. Sometimes I use a core Audix, but I don't remember the model of that one. I use that one mainly in the rehearsal room with the cord, and sometimes I have it as a back second microphone on the stage, just in case I have any issues with my wireless microphone. My wireless microphone is just a simple Shure 58.
Matt is asking, so I have a question. Where do I even start? I've been practicing screaming for about a year now, and I haven't really been able to find a band. Are there any tips you can give me for where to start?
I'm not sure I understood the question correctly. Where to start to do what? If you're talking about the alternative type of vocalize, all you have to do is, you know, make sure you have some lessons. If you don't have any type of knowledge at all, make sure you have some lessons, and then practice with those lessons. And then while practicing, feel your own body, control your own body. It's all about control. And that is the, you know, advice I would give to every musician, especially vocalist. Just learn to feel your body. It's all about that. And then while practicing, you will discover what you can actually do.
Julie is asking, during the lockdown, are you writing these songs? If you do, where do you find your inspiration?
Yeah, of course. I try to write all the time, and even before being quarantined, the way I write is never connected to, do we have to record soon or not? It's never connected to the fact that we are touring or not. I just write whenever I have an idea that I think is interesting to talk about, or if, to actually open, and I put it down. You know, I really like to have my notebook with me. If I don't, I have notes in my phone with just phrases or just like pieces of like little poems here and there. And I write them down, and then I come back to it over and over again. And everything inspires me, literally everything. You know, obviously I'm writing more based on my past experiences or or what I'm experiencing at the moment. Some people in my life also inspire me in good or bad way. Yeah, I just try to write about everything I feel, and I just learn to be very real about it and very sincere, because we are all human beings and everybody can relate to even very basic and very simple feelings like, you know, a loss or love, or very like normal feelings. Why don't we write about that as well? It doesn't always have to be something like super extremely scientific or extremely deep that the people are like, what is this song about even, you know? So I just write all the time. And yes, I do like to take this time in quarantine and write more for sure.
Jonathan is asking, do you do anything with your mouth when you scream or tongue?
Absolutely, yeah. We mentioned that with Melissa before. The shape of your mouth, the position of your tongue, and and how much you open your mouth actually that it influences what sound is going to come out. Because it can be like a very high scream or a lower scream, and that you shape with your mouth also. It's like, you have to use that for sure. And I'm lucky that I have the microphone and you can't really see that, but sometimes it's super funny to see the faces I do on the stage. It is what it is, the weird faces.
Like, I remember watching a video where Phil Bozeman explains that he does this thing with his tongue where he puts it on the roof of his mouth when he's doing gutturals. So if like a normal scream would be like his is like.
See, here you go. That's a really cool tip. I will try that too.
Matthew is asking, can you give me tips to actually write lyrics and vocal melodies?
Well, I don't know if I can give tips on that because I never studied music as it is. I never really went to a school or university or college or whatever you guys call it here for music. Like I never did that. Unfortunately, I wish I did. I cannot write notes or read them, but I can just share with you what I do. I feel. So I write based on what I feel. So whenever I have to work on a melody, I have the song written by my band and I have the lyrics that I chose for that melody, that song, I'm sorry. And now I sit down and I have to think about the melody that goes with the vocals. And what I do is I try different things, and based on what I want to deliver, I feel like, hey, maybe if I want to deliver this kind of emotion, maybe I should sing here. And should I sing like higher notes or lower notes? I just try both, and whatever feels more right is what I stick with, So there is I don't think there are really rules for that when you have to write melody, like to put a melody with a song. Not the majority, but I had this interesting theory from a fan, I think, or I don't even remember who told me that, but somebody told me that maybe because I don't have a music background and I didn't study music, maybe that's why I do not apply any type of rules when I come out with melodies for my vocals, and that's why maybe Infected Rain sometimes can sound so unique and so different, unexpected. When you listen to a song for the first time, you're like, this is so weird, so unexpected. And then you learn to love it, or you love it right away, or you hate it. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I do what comes from my heart. So obviously it makes me happy if you love it too. But if you don't, it's okay, So maybe that's how it works. I don't know. Obviously, there are some rules that you have to apply. Some notes that don't go together, but you will feel that it will sound weird for your ear for sure. So
I think I would say it's very intuitive. I know that when I've had trouble writing and I go to Melissa, she tells me you got to learn the rules before you break them. And which is why progressive bands like Tool or what's another one? And they escape me right now. Which is why they're able to do these crazy things with the odd time signatures and all that, because they know the rules and then they broke them, but they implemented their intuitiveness into that. Mel Breaker is asking how to move on from the basic fry noise to an actual fry scream. So I'm assuming she's asking on how to convert the into like a or something like, yeah. I have that problem too, but what do you think, Lena?
Do you want to answer from your perspective as a boy, and I will answer as a female vocalist? Although
All
there's
right.
not a big difference, but
Here, I'll just switch on here. But
uh-huh.
okay, so I had that problem for a really long time where
Everybody say hello to Khalil. We have
hello,
video.
it's very interesting. It's you can't teach, like Melissa knows the science of it, like the vocal parts and all of that, but it's very hard to show somebody how to do it, at least for me, but this is how I would do it. The fry part, I start with the like that little transition. I don't know how to make it. As a boy, I used to think that I couldn't do fries. I thought I associated that with only females can do fries and only boys can do false chord, and some tenors can do fries because they have like higher voices. I can't do that, but it doesn't matter what your voice is, you could do all of it: fry, false chord, hybrid. And yeah,
I
I
have
don't
to
know how
plug
to
in my
convert that.
computer. Just give me a second. You continue explaining. I have to bring my my computer is dying, guys, because we've been online for more than an hour and a half. So just give me 1 second. You continue.
All right, guys. So I'm Khalil, by the way. I start with, I had another problem I had was it would get itchy. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have had this problem too, where like you're trying to scream and it gets really itchy, or you might even gag or throw up or something like that. And from experience with Melissa, she tells me that that's the larynx going up. Now, I don't really know what that means, but you just gotta breathe correctly and use your, well, actually, that doesn't even help. You gotta use your imagination, okay? So when I'm screaming, I get the noise and I put it above the pencil. So if you don't know what that means, Melissa Cross has this practice that's called above the pencil. And you get a pencil, let me see if I have one. And you put it right here. Or you could use your finger or whatever you have, a pen, doesn't matter. And you make a noise like ee, but you want the noise to project over the pencil. You want to feel it right here. So you go ee, that feeling, that ee, you always want to have that when you're talking, when you're screaming, when you're singing, all the time. And if you have that feeling, the ee, while you're screaming, it'll help you to sound better and to do it correctly. Now, you don't want to have, you don't want to, it doesn't want to come from, you don't want it to come from somewhere nasal. You don't want to go, ee. And the way to test this is you close your nose. And if it's nasal, it'll sound like this. Ee. But if it's actually above the pencil, ee, and you close your nose, you won't get that.
Nice. I like that the way you show it. I like it. That's a very good example. Very good example, actually.
Well, Melissa showed it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, but
Melissa's
still,
the wizard here.
is you know, you learn from the best and you learn it properly, and that's very important, because very often we think we know and we think we got it, and then we still make mistakes. We still do.
So I think that's how you would do the fry or false quarter hybrid without hurting yourself. Just remember the above the pencil. Get that little ringing feeling that you said that you love, that you got addicted to.
Yeah,
you know?
I love it. I love it.
And then I think you should be good from there. Do you want to answer how you learned fry, how you connected that as a girl?
Well, I think the trick for me was to do it while singing. So like I would sing a phrase and then finish it with a scream, and I would just do those little connections only with a little bit of sound, and then I would change it to like the bigger part of the sentence and then the whole sentence. So I would do exercises like that all the time, and the way it made me feel and the way it made me like actually involve the whole body made me understand how to do it properly, especially in the beginning. And I still do that a lot. Like when, you know, when I want to actually just write new melody for a new song, and I try different ideas for the melody, that's what I do as well. I practice and I see how does it feel when I do this or that, and that brings us back to the question before this, by the way. And this is when it feels right, is where you leave, and you're like, okay, this feels right. I love this, and I will leave that this way. But yeah, that's how I did the transition, I think.
It's like a massage for your head. I feel like a lot of people associate screaming with the aggressiveness. And for example, when you're doing fry, you're not really, I mean, you can have those emotions, but you don't want the fry to come from an emotional state. You want to be, I mean, it's very interesting. You do, but at the same time you don't, because if you get actually angry and you go, ah, that's not fry. But if you go like, ah, or anything like that, you
so there is different
yourself.
Kind of anger. There is anger with frustration, and just anger to like deliver. And you can say, for example, you can say, let's think about an example when you're frustrated and you're like, somebody did something.
An
you're
argument
like
with someone or something.
Yeah, I don't know. So you see someone that is like doing something to your car, and you can be like, hey, get away from my car. Or you can be like, hey, get away from my car.
Yeah.
Don't do that ever, you know? Yeah. So that the same, if you do like, hey, get away from my car. And that's what you do with like still delivering anger, frustration even, but not too much, you know? You just keep that balance. You still, you know, you still want to keep it cool. And even if it sounds like you're yelling, you're like, hey, get away from my car. And you can add to it, hey, get away from my car.
And you slowly blend it in however you want. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's that balance. Don't put too much frustration into it. Like, try to like learn how to balance it.
Advaya is asking, sometimes I do feel like my nasals are jammed and it gets difficult to open it up to scream or sing high notes. Can you help me out with an exercise? So I think it has a lot to do, singing and screaming have a lot to do with overtones, especially fry. And a good way to find these overtones is, again, to do the above the pencil thing. And a good note to start with is the E note. So when you go E, it has all these, it has high note, it has a huge brand of overtones in them, low, high. Like I wish I had a piano right now, because Melissa usually shows a dun, 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 like the huge brand of notes that are in that note. And the nasalness, I would say just hold your nose. If it's like, that's nasal. But if you can sustain an E while holding it and it doesn't make a difference, then you solved it. And I think that's a really easy exercise or way to figure out how to get rid of that nasalness. And that helps with singing a lot.
Hey, look at that. If you have like a cold on tour and you feel like you can't breathe, here you go. That's a good exercise. Don't get sick on tour though. Try to take care of yourself. But if you do,
oh, sweet. Now
you
I
have
want
something else?
Someone wants to hear your scream.
Okay, so that's another thing. Guys, never ask for vocalists to scream just like that. No, we are not like puppets here to just do on command. Like, even though today I did my vocal exercises and I was ready to even have some singing here, this is not about that. This is not about, hey, look what I can do. No. Yeah. Nobody's gonna like that. No vocalists like that. Hey, can you scream for me? How do you do that? Can you show me? No.
What is the Infected Rain song that you feel the most pressure to sing live?
I'm
gonna get my charger though, I'll be back.
Yes, at the moment, I think at least, okay, so for the past tour, pretty challenging for me was Passerby because of that chorus, you know, super high, and every time I felt like this is pretty challenging for me, especially in the beginning. And it was although we had that song for a while, it was the second tour where we sang that song. But for this whenever the upcoming tour is going to happen, I am very terrified for the song Tapiphobia, because Tapiphobia is a song from the newest record from Endorphin, and it's a very emotional song and pretty difficult vocal wise, but especially emotional, very emotional for me. And we never sang it, never performed it live yet. So I'm terrified by that song. I want to play it live so much, but I'm terrified. So yeah, I answered.
Okay. Nilo Pato wants to know, who are your inspirations? Which vocalists inspired you to start singing, and what are your favorites today? And which ones continue to inspire you?
Well, I can't really say that certain vocalists inspire me to sing or inspire me to be a certain kind of musician or a certain kind of vocalist. I can't really say that. I try my best to just be me and do me, But definitely I can, I can list some bands that I grew up with that definitely spoke to me. I started to listen to alternative music with Nirvana, and I thought it was absolutely great what Kurt was doing with the lyrics and with the vocals. And then little by little, I started going deeper and deeper into heavier stuff, and I remember buying the album Iowa of Slipknot and Sepultura Roots, Bloody Roots,
Yeah.
Those two albums I listened until I had them on the cassette, and the cassette stopped working. You Khalil don't know cassettes. You're too young to know cassettes. Fuck, I feel old.
They were there when I was a kid around.
I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, other bands when I was growing up as a teenager, we were in an era of new metal. So obviously bands like Korn, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, and I don't know, POD, all those new metal bands, they influenced me as a person very much because I was listening to them a lot. Bands that I still listen to these days, like Deftones, Tool, and everything those vocalists do besides their main projects, I love absolutely. And but yeah, I can, as I said, I love discovering newer bands. So I sometimes discover really interesting music, but I don't only listen to metal. I want to tell you that I think my theory is a good musician actually knows how to appreciate different kind of music. And even if it's pop, electronic, or reggae, or whatever, jazz, whatever it is, if it speaks to you, it means it was done well, and it means it's a good music. It's a good song, right? Now, it just tends to happen that the most emotional songs and in general are mainly metal, and that's why I prefer metal to listen and to perform, to sing. But I do have a huge list of other bands that are not metal that I really love to listen to.
Someone is asking, Carlos Serafino is asking, when you talked about a rest day, you mean to not use your voice at all, or how does that work? So
yes, the rest, the vocal rest. So the vocal rest can be either minimum talk, but never whisper. Remember to never just whisper. It's a big mistake when people think that, oh, I heard my voice, so I'm going to whisper. No, if you use it properly. Better not to use it. Give it a rest. As I said, it's you can either go to sleep and try to sleep, because sleeping is like a reset button for vocalists. It's very important. But also just resting, laying down while reading a book or watching a movie or something, but without talking, is also vocal rest.
Use sticky notes. Use sticky notes. Melissa says that and whispering is very, very, very bad for you when you have any sort of vocal damage. The way she describes it is, if you have an electric guitar and you play it no matter how hard you play it, you won't get it as loud as if it's connected into the amp. And when you whisper, it's like you're not connected into the amp. You're not using your dump and your hoo-hoo at all. You're just there. So if you try to like whisper really loud, then you're actually straining yourself. And you never want to whisper. You're pushing, and it could make it worse. It does make it worse for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
How much? Let's see. What moment? When did you want to learn to decide to scream is the question. To start to scream. I guess, when did you start screaming?
Well, I mentioned that before, but I started with the band Infected Rain. In the late 2007 is when we started our first get-together rehearsing, fooling around. And then we had our very first show in the summer of 2008. And right away when we were doing our own music, I knew that my type of vocalizing is going to be a little bit more brutal and more emotional. So I wanted to scream, and I wanted to add that to the singing. Actually, I learned to sing and scream pretty much at the same time. I was never a singer before, so.
You weren't? Did you learn with Melissa or by yourself?
I started by myself. In fact, you did not join us in the beginning. I did tell that story in the beginning. All right. We forgive you, Khalil.
I was at the wrong time zone.
I know. We forgive you, Khalil, because you're giving us some time now. We all forgive him, right, guys?
I'm going to get on. No. Yeah, I'm getting yes.
Yes.
But yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I never sang before. I started with this band, and I did it by myself in the beginning, and then I had a different vocal teacher before Melissa, which taught me vocals for 3 years. And but she was a classic vocal teacher in the University of Music in Moldova, where I am from and the band is from. And I used to just go there and have the basics from her. Actually, she taught me a lot. She gave me a lot of knowledge, for sure. But then I discovered Melissa's DVDs, and then in 2013 is when I had my first lesson with Melissa.
Anna is asking, sometimes when I sing, I use effort in my voice and it makes me cough, or I have to lighten my voice to make it clean again. How can I avoid coughing during a song? By the way, love you.
Thank you. Well, if you have to cough, it means you're pushing. And just like Melissa explained it before, it feels like that little throw up tension that you feel when you want to throw up. It's too much. You're pushing. You're not in the balance with your own body. So just practice a little bit more and do it more quiet.
I remember Melissa also talking about how any noise that comes from a makes you want to gag. So if you try to learn fry, you could do false chord if you want, but if you learn fry first, it'll be implemented whether you want it to or not into your false chord, and that will help so that you don't gag or cough as much.
For me, it helped. Yeah, for sure. You're very right. But if there are vocalists that they don't necessarily want to scream, they just want to sing. I will be honest with you. I don't think there should be a huge difference between speaking, singing, or screaming, just like Melissa is trying to explain here. But for me, so Melissa has this exercise where she does the hee-hees. So for example, there is, let's say, take that phrase or the verse from your song where you're singing, and that part where it gives you trouble, and just use the vowel he. I think it's a vowel, right?
Yeah, he, the noise he.
The noise he, and just go with that instead of words and do the melody. For example, I don't know, I can grab like, for example, Passerby for Infected Rain, the chorus says, it's like the chorus is very like a lot of notes. So what I do to be ready for that, I do the hee. So I do and so on. It's really interesting because you're working with your diaphragm, you're working with the air, and you're working with the notes, and you're gonna make sure you do the hee-hees in those exact notes that you're like, passerby, it hurts every time, right? So like, just do it with the hee-hees. So
yeah, I didn't think about it in a singing sense. I've never gagged or coughed singing, so I don't have any experience with that.
It happens the majority of the time when you're not really warmed up properly. It can happen with certain notes that you feel that you want to cough because you're not prepared for it. But it's also because you're trying to hear yourself do that note. And that is, again, something we already mentioned. Forget about hearing yourself. Feel and be that note. Try that. I know it sounds weird, but when you get it, when you will understand what we are talking about.
Yeah, it's like use your imagination, like draw lines when you're singing or screaming all around the crowd or your room or your car, or the bathroom, wherever you are. Use your imagination when you're singing and screaming. It definitely, I don't know why or how, but
yes, but here I will add to you, don't ever think about that as high. Think about that, like right and left. Don't think about up and down, because then your whole body wants to do up and you're like, you think this note is so high, how can I get there? Don't think about that.
Why does my throat, let's see, actually, no. So someone is asking, I'm 19 years old. Do you think that's too late to learn singing and screaming? No, not at all.
No. I was, okay, so when I started in 2007 with the band, I was 21 and I never sang before. And when I went to do my first vocal lessons, I was 22. And although when I called my teacher, I had her phone number from somebody that told me she's a really good vocal teacher. And I told her about myself a little bit. She did mention that she thinks that at age 22, it's kind of late to learn everything and to learn music. And listen, I get it. I get what she was saying. You know, she was saying, considering learning everything, but still, if you have time to dedicate, you can learn an instrument from start. You can learn music from start. You can learn notes and everything. It's never too late. You can be fucking 50. I don't care.
Yeah,
it's all about how much you want it. No.
19 is actually, I think, a pretty good age, because if you start at 19 and it takes, say, 3 years to be good, by the time you're 22, you're good. You know what I mean? But it takes a lot longer. I think it's a never-ending process. It's a never-ending process.
I always discover new things, for sure. Especially every time I have an actual lesson with Melissa, we discover new things here and there, and it's really, really cool. And you can always learn all the time.
Anna is asking, how can I empower my voice without pushing and screaming like a chicken?
You want to answer that,
Anna? How can I empower my voice? So what makes a voice powerful? You know what I mean? Whether it's singing or screaming, I think the overtones is a good answer for both. Me, as a very, very, very deep bass, I find it hard. I used to find it hard to reach higher notes, you know? And what helped with that was Melissa teaching me how to access my overtones. And a way to do that, again, is with the pencil. The pencil will help you so much. So I used to not know how to go up there, and I would go, hey, hey, like that was my highest note. And when you learn how to find that buzzing feeling when you go, E. You guys see the difference between that E and E? Like, it's really hard with your normal bass level voice to try to go up there. And I'm saying up there because you want to think, like Lena said, a line, you know, and to empower your voice.
What is power? Power is something that you have to imagine in your head, and the way you imagine it and the way you give it is how it sounds. So if you think power is volume, you're wrong. Power is not volume, you know? So if you're gonna stop thinking power is volume and you're gonna just vibrate with your whole brain and mask and face, and you're just going to be the note, you're gonna have power. You're gonna get there. It's a feeling that is difficult to describe because we are only talking about shapes and lines here. And it's something you have to feel. That's what being a vocalist is. And that's probably why I love it so much, because I'm a very emotional person. And I feel like this is the best instrument I could choose in my life.
You also want to take care of the instrument because you can't restring yourself, you know?
Yeah.
But I think adding to that, you don't want to think volume, like you said, because that's what the microphone is for. You don't want to be loud. You just want to sound, you want to try to sound right, whether it's or a little louder. People do screams differently. You do not want to think loud because you will hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
How much? Let's see. Still looking. What should I do to be able to use my voice for a longer period of time? I mean, I tire my voice after singing high songs for an hour or so. It's not the same anymore. After that, even my talking voice changes. Okay.
So, you know, I tend to notice, and I said that before as well, I tend to notice that when I'm on tour, my talking voice changes a little bit too. But don't get frightened by that, because then you just have to learn to sing and scream and talk with the same rules, basically. So just do your warm up. Don't tire yourself on purpose just to sound more raspy or to sound better. That's not what a vocal warm up is. So in order to be able to sing well and for a long time every day, just find your own ritual that works well for you. It took me years to understand what works better for me, and I found it. I'm very happy with it. It's the best I could find so far. Maybe in years I will find something else additional to that that will help me be even better, feel even better. But yeah, just do the vocal warm-ups, do the vocal rest, and try to find the balance between you and your voice. And you're gonna be okay.
I think an hour is a long time too. Don't do an hour every day, especially
no.
It's a long time. Pace yourself and take breaks, you know?
Especially if you're on tour, you don't need more than 15 minutes, really. Like, I do sometimes more, but just because I love it so much and I just want to, or I have time. But 15 minutes is really enough. The majority of the time we are all running around and we are like late and it's sound check and this and that, and you don't have time. So 15 minutes really is enough.
Yeah, pace yourself. Don't do an hour every day. You're gonna hurt yourself. I do 5 hours sometimes. No. Someone said I do 5 hours. I mean, if you can and it doesn't hurt, then that's amazing. But
yeah, well, I don't know what they are actually talking about. Are you talking about 5 hours of shows, or 5 hours of singing in the rehearsal studio, or 5 hours of just vocal warm-up? What do you mean by 5 hours? Because I mean, we all rehearse and practice for a long time, especially when we work on some newer songs, or we want to, you know, if we want to like get better with a particular song and we work on it over and over again, then you do those 3 to 5 hours, but then next day rest, you know. It's important. Like even when you record vocals for your new album, right, you need some vocal rest as well, because like I go to in the studio and I stay there the whole day, hours and hours, and to be honest, I record, I don't know, 2 songs usually a day. 2 songs for the whole day. Like that's 2 songs over and over and over and over and over again, different pieces and different notes for back vocals and this and that, and that's very tiring. Of course we all do that, you know, but that's rare occasions, and then you give yourself some rest and then you do it. That's not every day. It can't be every day.
Can't be every day. It's like working out at the gym, you know what I mean? You gotta pace yourself. Someone's asking, how long should a vocal warm-up be and before you start jamming or singing?
Well, I think I already answered that question, but it's very individual. It's somebody doesn't need it at all. Somebody is good enough after 15 minutes, and some other people need 30 minutes. I don't know. It all depends on your routine and you know, how warmed up you are.
I think you'll feel it too. It depends on you, really. Let's see. How can I find my pitch so I can avoid singing like other singers unconsciously while practicing? So I think they're asking how they could find their voice, I think.
Yeah, I think you will find that when you're gonna stop trying to sound like somebody else. Stop, like, I don't want to use word copy because that's not what you're doing, I'm sure, but you're looking up to other vocalists too much. Just when you're gonna stop trying to sound like them, that's when your real voice is gonna come out. And you just practice and do your thing and sing along, and it's gonna come out naturally.
Yeah, that's,
you know, I was always, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I always
okay.
had this one thing that I only share this with my musicians, so I didn't really share this much before, but I always had this. By listening to other bands, sometimes I get this feeling that, wow, this vocalist is so amazing. Like literally without looking who is playing at the moment, you can tell who is singing at the moment. Like you can tell this is Chino Moreno from Deftones because he has a voice that everybody, like, it's very unique. It's his voice. Or you can tell this is Randy from Lamb of God. He has his own, it's like impossible to not recognize him if you know his band. So I always thought between me and me, and I share that I share that only with my musicians from Infected Rain, and I remember saying, I hope there's somebody somewhere in the world that can say the same about me. Just not because I'm the best and not because I'm so good, but just because I'm unique. And I really want to try my best to keep that uniqueness for as long as I can. And by doing that, I'm only being myself. So in order to do that, I'm being myself. That's what I'm trying to say here. So basically, I really hope that some fans can really be like, that's Lena from Infected Rain, or that's Infected Rain playing, because we are a unique sounding band, in my opinion, but who am I to judge? I am, the musician of that band, and I can't say, I don't know, but I really hope that's what people think, just like I think that about other vocalists,
Yeah.
So that's basically, that's like the biggest compliment I can ever get. Honestly, it's like, your voice is so unique, your voice is so different from the others, and I can, honestly, that's the biggest compliment, because listen, I know I'm not the most amazing and great and insanely talented vocalist on the planet. There are others way better than me, way more skilled and more talented than me, and that can do so much. But I just want to sound unique. That's it.
Don't copy. And I'm not saying that you're copying, but the person that was asking, but don't try to sound like anyone else at all, because Lamb of God's already been done. Deftones has already been done. You know what I mean? It's an amazing sound, and if you can sound like them, that's really cool, but people have already heard that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said.
I think there's
And I think we should do this for another like 10 minutes, Khalil, and then we're gonna let you go because it's been a while. And
Yeah.
I can see half of the people already left, but those of you that didn't leave, 10 more minutes for you to ask a very important question. Let's go. Thank you for all the compliments, by the way, and thank you for staying with us for so long.
So Anna is asking, my sister Raza would like to know why she is the only one of my sisters that can't sing.
All right, so
she said, do you think there are some people that can't do it, or it's about how to learn how to use your voice?
All right, so these two are my sisters. So it's actually 4 of us, but it's 3 of us from the same mom and dad, and I'm the oldest sister. And my sister Anna actually sings very, very beautifully herself, and she started. She joined some other musicians. I'm not sure if there's an actual band going on yet, but she's practicing a lot. She's learning the guitar. She's actually the only sister in the family that actually studied music when she was small. So she would be the perfect singer, I think. And let's wish her luck with what she's doing, because she's absolutely talented. And I think Rosa is actually absolutely talented too. She just never really tried to give it enough time. And but I know that the actual essence of that question was, do you think talent has to do a lot with your results? Yes and no. Hard work helps more. So certain talented people need less work to do what they are doing. Certain less talented people, if you want to call them that way, which I don't think there's such thing, it's just they just need to work harder. That's what makes us so unique and different from one another. For example, I don't think I'm so talented. Honestly, I really don't. I never considered myself a talent from when I was born, or any like super gifted person. Never considered myself that. I'm a hard worker, and I try my best to dedicate time to what I want and what I love. And that's my secret. I really don't think I was born with a musical talent. I really don't think so.
What that baffles me, because I listened to Infected Rain for the first time yesterday, and you're a really, really, really good singer. That baffles me. But I get what you mean, though.
Thank you so much.
I get what you mean.
I appreciate that.
Someone is asking, is it okay to practice my singing for longer periods of time? And if I want to cover any song, how should I approach it? What should be the process? I think that,
I don't know much about cover songs because I didn't do many, but I don't know if there's like a rule to it. I would say I think the best cover songs that I ever listened to are the cover songs that sound a little bit different than the original. So just try to be yourself, be unique, and still, don't try to copy, even if it's a cover. We did a cover for the song "Stain of Mind" of Slayer, and we did my latest release was in collaboration with a different singer. We covered All the Things She Said by Tattoo, and I think we sounded way different than the original. So that was the key for us. I would say that's the best advice I can say about covers. I don't know much about it because I never did too many. I should, because I love singing, so I want to do some covers actually in the future, so I will. But I don't know, can you say more about that, Khalil?
Yeah, I've actually done a good many covers before I was in a band. And what I would say is, when you're covering a song, whether it's for your own personal, like, I want to see what it sounds like, or you're going to post it or whatever, a problem I had was I would cover a song over and over and over and over again, but I would never work on how to get better. Like I would just do the same thing, try to copy them, but then implement it in your own way. You know what I mean? If you hear a Corey, like a Slipknot song, try to do what he's doing just to see if you can do it, and then do your own thing after that. I think we got time for one more question because we're going to run out of recording space.
Yes. One more question. You choose.
One more question. How do you find the right spot for a fry? How do you find the right spot for a fry scream, like the sweet spot?
Oh, I don't know. How do you, there's a way to find it. There's just a way to feel it. When it feels right, it's right. It's all about feeling it, I think, because it all depends. It depends on you, on depends on like what vocal range you have as well. It's all about, if it feels right and it doesn't hurt, is right. As soon as it hurts a little bit, or it gives you that itchy feeling that you want to throw up or cough or something, it's not right. So slow down. Like, you know, I had a lot of vocalists that told me, you know, after a show, vocalists that we shared the stage with from other bands, that they were like, I'm gonna throw up. And I was like, why though? You know, sometimes there's not enough air on the stage, not very well ventilated venues, and it gets very hot. Like me, I fainted one time on the stage. It happened in Russia. People fucking recorded that, and it was super embarrassing. But stuff like that happens. But it doesn't have to happen because you're pushing your throat and you like blocking the oxygen that goes to your brain, and you just like want to throw up, you know? So feel your body, balance, balance, balance. And hey, I don't want to sound like I'm a yoga instructor here. I wish I was. I am not, but I try to apply this rule in my life with everything. Breathe and feel your body, feel what you're doing, and be in a good balance with what you're doing, body and the voice and the noise that comes out from your mouth. And as long as it doesn't hurt, you're doing it right.
I agree. And I think this is where we're going to cut this off. Remember, everybody, that tomorrow, April 3rd, yes, we're in second, is with Garrett Russell of Silent Planet. And then the day after, on Saturday, is with Eve Minor. And then after that, the classes start. So if you want to check out the classes, go to store.melissacross.com. And thank you so much for being here, Lena. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I will actually join, try my best to join tomorrow as well. The day after tomorrow, I have something else going on while quarantined, but I think it was very nice to hear your opinion, Khalil, and Melissa's instructions. She's the wizard, so the wizard behind
like
us, behind the
whole
scenes.
Industry, yeah.
yeah. And you know, just look at all the students that Melissa has, and that is a good example, and that should be good enough for you to understand that Melissa is a good teacher for you to try at least once. I'm sure she's going to have an answer for all of your questions. Just give it a try. Have a class with her, especially now while being quarantined. Try to learn something new for yourself and stay safe. Thank you again for joining, and thanks especially thank you for staying for so long, for all of the 60 and past people. Thank you, Khalil. You are absolutely amazing. Thank you for everything, and goodbye.
Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.